Hello, good afternoon, friends. Yesterday we discussed about methods of cultivation of various millets, the suitable soils, methods of cultivation, sowing, plant protection, harvesting, cleaning, storage, etc. And also the major pests and the diseases that are commonly encountered on various millets that we have covered yesterday. We also learned about the important pulses, both in North and South India, starting from black gram, green gram, red gram, and Bengal gram. Here also, we discussed about the suitable soils, methods of cultivation, and what are the common pests and diseases, and what are the plant protection mechanisms that we have to follow to counter them and also to enhance the crop yield. Now today, we'll discuss about the important oil seeds. As you know, in our syllabus, we have two kinds of oils. One is cooking oil, the other is what we call industrial oil. Under cooking, we have groundnut, till oil, otherwise known as gingerly oil, safflower oil, and the sunflower oil. Under the industrial category, we have castor oil. Castor oil is generally considered as an industrial oil. So let us begin with the importance of oils, and what are the common oils that are being in use across India as such. So as you know, can you name any few important oils, cooking oils? Say groundnut oil, till oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, palm oil, okay, rice bran oil, soybean oil is there, coconut oil is there, and last one is cottonseed oil. Of course, this is an inferior quality oil, generally mostly used in soap making. So these are the common oils that are in use across India. Of course, if you go to North India, we have what we call mustard oil. Mustard oil is very famous for North Indian people. Of course, if you go to extreme south, that is extreme southwest of India, that is Kerala, where coconut oil is mostly used as a cooking oil. So with this background, let us learn more about each one of them. So to begin with, groundnut oil, groundnut as such. As you know, groundnut is the most important oil, and the acreage, in terms of acreage, it occupies something like 27% of the acreage of all oils. Now it accounts for more than 28% of the oils that are produced in India. Now this is what we call a tropical crop. Generally, it needs a lot of sunshine and hot weather for its good growth. Generally, cold weather is not suitable for raising the groundnut. Now, we can say with proud that we are the #1 country in the world as far as groundnut production is concerned. Now, groundnut, as you know, though it is grown as a oil seed, but even the raw seeds, what we call, maybe wet one, but that is immature, seeds are the kernels, are the dry kernels. They can be eaten either salted, or you can add a pinch of salt and powder, mirchi powder, maybe otherwise, and that adds to the taste. And not only that even we have what we call chickies, wherein you make a syrup of what we call jaggery, and into that you add these peanuts, and you get what we call chickies. They are very good for people suffering from anemia, anemic. That is, who suffer from lack of required quantity of blood, especially RBC. For those people, generally anemic people, if they take this chickies, of course, they can get rid of that ailment shortly. 2 or 3 weeks is sufficient to retain your lost health. So now, this groundnut, this has been in use from times immemorial. It has been in use. And, this is not only rich in oil, but also a good source of protein. And another important feature is it is very rich in essential amino acids and also the vitamins. Except your B12 and E, almost all the vitamins you get by taking these either raw or cooked or in the form of sprouts, etc. So now coming to the leading states in India where this is cultivated on a large scale, Gujarat ranks first as far as both in acreage and also in yield. Now, after that, comes Maharashtra, Karnataka, AP, Rajasthan, and other areas where good sunshine and day temperatures are more than 20 or so. So the ideal temperature is between 20 and 30 is quite ideal for raising this crop. Now, coming to the Telugu states, of course, in AP, now as far as the acreage and production is concerned, we rank, second or third. And in Telugu states, Anantapur tops the list, where the maximum acreage, especially under Kharif, this is cultivated on a large scale. Now, why? Because the soils are sandy soils, chalka soils, loose soils. These are quite ideal for raising groundnut, because heavy soils such as black cotton soils are not suitable for this. So light soils, loam soil or sandy soils are quite good for raising this crop. So these soils are mostly present in the Rayalaseema area. That's why this is a popular crop, oilseed crop that is cultivated on a large acreage. Now, this is, as I already told you, this is a Kharif crop. So soon after what we call early monsoon showers, they take up sowing. Now, before that, during summer, starting from this March, April, May, the farmers, they plow their field by using either kanti plow or otherwise, and by using what we call blade harrow, cultivators, etc. They make their soil, they make their field ready. And if they have, compost or farmyard manure, they put that, into the soil, and by using cultivator or by ploughing or by using simply blade harrow, they mix their soil with the organic fertilizer, organic manure that has been added to one's field. Now, when there are showers, then before that, what the farmer does, he breaks the parts. Now, generally, the seed is not, preserved in the form of kernels. Generally, the pods are broken and the seeds are separated, and then they are cleaned. And while breaking, one has to be very careful. If the seed breaks into two parts, two cotyledons, that is lost. It loses its ability to produce a new plant. And even the seed coat should not be damaged. So one has to be very careful while removing, while separating the seeds from the parts. Now, the weak ones, small ones, shriveled ones are to be separated, and the ones which are very healthy, they are to be used as seed for raising. Now, before taking up sowing activity, they have to be treated with a good strains of rhizobium. Now, this is what we call seed inoculation. Now, in exam also, they will ask you under short notes the methods of rhizobium inoculation in groundnut. Seed inoculation. Now, primarily there are three popular methods. One is what we call slurry method, pellet method, and the trickle method. These are the three methods that are commonly used for inoculation of the groundnut seed with rhizobium cultures. Now, here, in case of slurry method, farmer takes either 1 liter or 10 ml and makes 5% of, or he adds jaggery, makes 5% solution, and into that he adds maybe 20 grams to 200 grams based on the quantity you are in need, and he adds this. This is the culture, rhizobium culture, that is peat culture, that is available in agricultural selling shops, or you can order them from your agricultural universities and other areas. And this you have to mix to the slurry and thoroughly mix it. Then you spread your seed on the floor and you sprinkle. Then you sprinkle this over that. Now it forms a thin layer over the seed, and you keep it under shade for a day or two. So then it gets dried up. Then you can sow them directly. This is one. And the second is pellet method, very similar to that. Slurry, and you add peat, good strains of rhizobium inoculation, rhizobium culture into the slurry. Then you add what we call calcium carbonate into that. So by that, when it gets dried, it becomes a brittle layer around the seed. This, as it gives, pellet-like structure, that's why it's known as pellet method. And the third one is trickle method, wherein you prepare large quantity of the liquid, same your 5% of jaggery solution, and into that add this inoculum. Then you take this into a container. Generally, you, by using either bamboo stick or otherwise, when one person is dribbling the seed behind what we call the plow, then the other person puts this in the form of what we call drops, drop after the drop behind the plow. So when the plow is moving and one person dribbles the seed, and the third person puts this liquid rhizobium liquid in the form of drops. So this is what we call, as you are putting drop after drop, that's why it's trickling. These are the three methods of inoculation of rhizobium culture to the seed. And generally, as I already told you, the loose and sandy, loamy soils are good. Why? Because here the soil should be loose and friable, so that the pegs, after pollination and fertilization, the flower stalk grows deep into the soil, where you get your parts inside the soil. So that's why this crop is what we call geocarpic. Carp means fruit. Fruits are produced inside the soil. So that's why it is what is known as geocarpic. And because the soil, if it is loose, then the penetration of these parts into the soil becomes very easy. If it is a heavy soil like a black cotton soil or so, of course, entry may be easy. But while harvesting, it becomes difficult. If you pluck it, generally there is every possibility for the breakage of fruits. Some fruits may remain inside the soil. So for them, farmer has to use extra energy to get them out. So if it is a sandy soil or loamy soil, when the crop comes for harvest, just by plucking, the entire pod in the form of a bunch comes out. Now, by the way, there are two major main varieties in here. One is what we call a bunch variety. The other is, a runner variety, which crawls. Now, bunch variety, all the parts at one point. If it is a runner, it is a runner, generally from each node you will see bunches, small bunches at 3 or 4 points. So this is what we call a runner like. Now, so these are the two varieties. Now, depending on the variety, generally between the rows, the distance differs. Now, if it is a bunch variety, generally the distance should be a bit less. A bit less is there, wherein 30 to 35 centimeters of distance is sufficient. But if it is a runner or a spreader type, now the distance will be a bit more. It will be 30 to 75 centimeters or so. Now, this mostly 80% of the crop is raised in Kharif only. But if water is there, you can raise this as a second crop also in Rabi. So in the rice fallows, in some areas, it is raised as a second crop. And even if water is there, borewells are there, well water is there, you can also have what we call summer crop. Summer. Generally, it has been proved that when compared to your Kharif, the yields are more in your Rabi and summer. So generally, you have to remember one more thing while cultivating this, generally, you have to see that, go for your soil test. Go for the soil test, and soil should not suffer from, deficiency of, calcium, zinc, and sulfur. These are the three important, nutrients. Major and micronutrients, these are very essential for high yield. Now, by getting your soil test, the soil condition, the deficiency of various minerals. So generally, to replenish, generally we add what we call gypsum. Gypsum is nothing but calcium sulfate. By supplying calcium sulfate, you will be checking the deficiency of your calcium and sulfur. So similarly, zinc sulfate is added, and with this addition, generally you get good yields. If the field is deficiency of these things, generally you get pods, which are called pops. Pops, of course, the pod will be normal, but if you press it and look for the seed, very small, narrow, small seeds will be there. No full formation of the seed kernel. So to check the pop, and one has to add, gypsum regularly. So generally every 2 or 3 years, if you add gypsum at the rate of 500 kg per hectare, that is sufficient. It lasts for 2 years or so, 2 to 3 years. So this is how the cultivation of groundnut is taken. And after what we call, when you go for when you take your seed to the mill, generally where the oil will be extracted, and the leftover what we call oil cake, which is very rich in proteins and oils and other minerals, that can be used as a feed for the cattle. feed for the cattle. So the nitrogen content will be around 7 to 8%. Very good. It acts as a good feed for the cattle. So this is what we call the important methods and the soils and the seasons for the cultivation, of course. And generally it can be cultivated as a solo crop, and in some cases it can also be cultivated as a intercrop. Intercrop, wherein you do with this what we call various pulses. This can be what we call a groundnut, and red gram will be there, groundnut bajra will be there, groundnut castor will be there, groundnut green gram. So these are the various intercropping patterns that are adopted in various parts of the country. It can also be grown as a solo crop. And coming to the high yielding varieties, high yielding varieties, TMV series, TMV1, TMV2, TMV3, or Tirupati 1, 2, 3, and Kadiri is one, and Vemana is the other high yielding variety, and JL24 is another high yielding variety which is suitable for South India. That is, when I say South India, it is suitable for Rayalaseema and also parts of Tamil Nadu. So this is about the methods. Now let us know about the pests and diseases. Generally, it is prone for what we call red hairy caterpillar is there, and leaf miner is the other pest, and tobacco caterpillar is there, and the root grub is there, and pod borer. These are some of the pests that are commonly found in all the groundnut growing areas. And the important disease is the ticka disease. This is very, very important. You get it even under short notes. Even in your sixth sem also, under what we call disease, plant disease management also, there also this is very important. So generally, ticka disease in all the groundnut growing areas, generally this is what we call leaf spot of groundnut, otherwise known as ticka disease. This causative organism is Cercospora personata and Cercospora arachidicoli is there, and we have even rust caused by Puccinia arachis, and collar rot is there, and stem rot is there, Sclerotia ralphii. So these are some of the diseases and pests that are commonly found in the areas where the groundnut is grown. Now then we move to the castor. As already told you, this castor is an industrial oil. India, by exporting castor oil, earning a good amount of foreign exchange. Now, this is used in various processes. Now, this can be used in textile industry, and this can be used even in making high quality paper, and even in hair oils. And this can also be used in what we call as a lubricant, and also used in what we call paints, varnishes, etc. So this is an oil which is of multiple use. Now coming to the soils and the methods of cultivation and the seasons, generally this is a crop which comes for harvest after a long time. It equal to what we call sugar cane. It is almost, it takes 1 year. The traditional varieties are, where the plant grows very high, maybe 10 to 12 feet or so. 10 to 12 feet. It resembles as a small tree as such. Now it comes for harvest after 8 months or 9 months or so. But of course, now with the research of plant breeders, they have produced high yielding varieties which come for harvest in 130 or 150 days. Now, one such early maturing hybrid variety is Aruna. Aruna is a high yielding castor variety of short duration variety. Now, generally, marshy, very heavy and marshy soils are not suitable, but the light soils, generally poor, loamy, sandy soils, there you can grow. See, you have to remember one. See, the soil which is unfit for your wheat, maize, sorghum, all other crops, still it can be used for growing castor. So even the poor chalca soils, sandy soils can also be exploited for raising castor. Now, this it is also either grown as a, now it is generally the hybrid varieties like Aruna, this is raised as a solo crop, but mostly it is grown as a mixed crop or as a what we call as an intercrop. Now, generally it is intercropped with groundnut. In some areas, castor and green gram will be there. In some cases, castor and your capsicum will be there. In some cases, castor and what we call, curcuma langa, haldi. So in all these crops, so it can be raised as an intercrop, solo crop and also intercrop. So now generally the field, because it has a deep taproot system, so generally the soils are to be plowed thoroughly. Deep ploughing is needed so that its root system makes a deep entry, and it can absorb its requirements of minerals from deeper layers. So now generally seed sowing, generally by using seed drillers or by using what we call lighter country plows, sowing is taken up, and generally because it has tree habit, that's why the distance should be maintained. Now this distance should be roughly 90 to 100 centimeters apart. Between the two rows, the distance should be around 1 meter, and in between two plants, it should be around 60 centimeters or so, because it grows very lengthy and also profuse branching will be there. So that's why um, good distance has to be maintained between two plants. Now, it is also susceptible for various weeds. So that's why inter cultivation has to be taken up, and up to first 60 days or so, farmer has to take care of the weeds. Of course, because it is a drought resistant, no irrigation is needed. But of course, if because soils are very poor, in retaining moisture, in such cases, if you give one or two, irrigations, you get better yields. So now it has a number of pests. Castor semilooper is the pest that causes a lot of damage to the crop, and even castor slug is there, and white flies are there. And coming to diseases, generally seedling blight caused by Phytophthora species. Seedling blight is one, and Melamsoros resi, that is rust, and blight alternaria resi is there, blight disease, and leaf spot by Cercospora, ricinella. It causes what we call leaf spot disease. So this is about the castor. This is about the castor. Now then we move to what we call till. Till is otherwise known as what we call gingerly oil. Ginger, when compared to other oils, this is the most important oil, because this oil content of the seed is maximum. So its oil content is around 50%. 50% oil content will be there, and generally now even the protein content will be more than 26-37% proteins is there. And this oil is very highly priced soil, because not only for cooking, even for making pickles. Pickles generally, for pickle making, generally people use this for your mango pickle or your what we call lemon pickle, etc. In almost all the pickles, generally people prefer the sesame oil or til oil or the what otherwise called gingerly oil. Now, gingerly oil is also very, it can be used, for even for, for people suffering from pain, joint pains, etc. Also, they to use this til oil. The doctors advise, generally orthopedic surgeons advise, to use this til oil or gingerly oil. Now, this, when compared to other plants, it comes for harvest very, very early. It takes, roughly 70 days. 70 to 80 days is sufficient for the sesame to come for harvest. Now, the seeds are very small, as you know. Seeds are very small. And, generally, it is, of course, it is mostly grown as a kharif crop, but in some other areas, it can also be grown as a second crop. In the rice fallows, this is raised as a second crop and also as a what we call rabi crop. Even if you have, good water facility, there you can also have, summer crop. So now different varieties, yielding varieties are short duration varieties are available. So throughout the year, you can grow this til or the gingerly. Even, the price or the remunerative prices are available for the farmers growing this til. So now the oil costs have gone up because it is the most preferable oil. So that's why you get good yields, not only good yield, not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of what we call monetary benefit. So now generally, there are mainly, different varieties are there based on what we call seed color. As you know, as all of you know, generally there are seeds. Some are black seeds, some are what we call white. It has been proved that white seeds are have, oil content a bit more than their black counterparts. Now, there are also what we call, a kharif and what we call punasa and the pairu, that is rabi. Now we have early maturing and also late maturing varieties are there, and then based on the number of carpels. Now that is what we call, capsule, and this capsule, that is nothing but fruit. It has, either it is, bicarpellatum or quadricarpellatum. In bicarpellatum, you have 2 locules, and if it is a quadricarpellate, it has 4 locules. Now, generally, because the seeds are very small, generally the farmer prepares its field well in advance before the onset of the monsoon, and 2 or 3 ploughings, and then by using cultivator and blade harrow, he makes his soil very friable, very loose, friable, and that is very good for cultivation because seeds are very small. For sowing, generally spreading is the method generally, and generally farmers add, a bit sand into the seed so that spreading becomes easy. Now, after spreading, generally by using cultivator or by using a bush, generally a bush is run over after spreading the seed. Bush is run so that the top soil, covers the seeds that have been spread over the surface, so that they can escape from the birds. So there are good number of varieties are there, of course. Say one is what we call Madhavi is there, Swati is there, Rajeshwari is there, and Sweta. These are the high yielding, early maturing varieties of til or the gingerly. So now, generally intercultivation, that is because it is a poor competitor of weeds. So that's why one has to be careful in the first 30 days after sowing. See that your field is free from weeds so that your crop comes well and you get good returns. Now, generally, I told you it doesn't need any irrigation, but if it is a summer crop, if it is a late Rabi crop, then if your soil suffers from moisture, then you can give 1 or 2 irrigations. You get good yields. Now, generally, harvesting. In harvesting, I told you generally it comes for harvest from 70 to between 70 and 90 days or so. Some late maturing, they may take around 120 days or so. So generally, they have to be, harvested before their capsule burst. The capsule burst means it releases its seeds with force. So that's why before the capsule breaks, so when the green capsule turn yellow, now that is the time for the farmer to start cutting them by using a sickle. So then he makes a small bundles and shifts them to the threshing area. So there he keeps, these bundles exposed to the sun, and after generally for a week or so, generally by that time, the capsules, they mature and they start, blowing, breaking. So when they break, generally, if you take a bundle, small bundle, and if you move like that, you will hear the sound of the seeds. So now what the farmer does, after a gap of 1 week or so, now he turns up and down so that the capsules are turned down so that whatever the seed that is there, it comes out easily. Now again, he keeps. Now, because you find these, capsules all along the stem, not only on the tip, but all along the stem, you find capsules. So that's why generally the capsules that are at the base, they come for harvest, they come for maturity a bit earlier, and the top ones, a bit late. So that's why 3, 4, what we call turning up and down are needed for the seeds to come out from the split parts. So this is the method of raising and also harvesting. And coming to the generally pests and diseases, generally pod borer is there, and the gallfly is there, and the caterpillar is there. These are the pests. Generally coming to the diseases, generally leaf spot, Cercospora sesame is the leaf spot producing fungus. And we have what we call the important, this is very important, even in your sixth sem, what we call phyllodes. Even in this sem also you may get a short note. Phyllodes, what do you mean by phyllodes? Even under your multiple choice, or even in your what we call fill in the blanks also, you may get this phyllodes. Phyllodes is nothing but turning of floral parts into leafy structures. This you find in what we call Sesamum or gingerly, and the causative organism is a mycoplasma. So because of mycoplasma, the floral parts turn into greeny structures. So floral parts look like small leaf. So that's why the name phyllodes. Okay, now this is about the gingerly. Then we move to the other two, that is safflower and sunflower. Safflower and sunflower, these are the two important, oil yielding crops. Now coming to safflower, safflower, of course, this is being cultivated in India for a long time. And even now this is mostly cultivated in what we call Rabi. This is grown as a Rabi crop, as a second crop. This row, so generally sown as a second crop, and generally the seeds contain what we call unsaturated fatty acids. The seeds are rich in unsaturated fatty acids, or otherwise what we call low cholesterol. Low cholesterol. So that's why this is very good for heart patients. Now, if you go to any big stores, you find their heart-shaped structure over the tin, and you see safflower. So that is nothing but your safflower oil. Safflower means safflower oil, and scientific name is Carthamus tinctorius. Till I did not tell you about this, that is Sesamum indicum, member of Pedaliaceae. Sesamum indicum. Of course, Arachis hypogaea, we know. And the Ricinus communis, that is castor, and the castor belongs to Euphorbiaceae. So now this safflower Carthamus tinctorius, a member of Asteraceae, or otherwise known as Compositae. So now, because you get good quality oil from safflower, so that's why it gets you good price. Farmer gets good price for his produce. And even the cake, that is the leftover cake, after the extraction of the oil, whatever the cake you get, that is a very good feed for the cattle. Some areas, even the seeds are, kept in water overnight, and they are taken either, in the form of sprouts or by frying, etc. Some areas, some people take this in that form also. So now, because it has what we call semi-drying quality, so even in quality paints making also, this oil is being used because of semi-drying quality. Paints, very good paints also, which evaporates very quickly. So we prefer, if you write something, if it gets dried within no time, there is a good quality pen. So also good quality oil means it should have, if it has to be used in paints, etc., varnishes, paints, it should have what we call quick drying character. So because of its semi-drying quality, this is being used in the manufacture of pastes, paints, varnishes, etc. So now, in good olden days, generally people used to grow this, for the dye. For the orange and yellow dye, people used to extract it good olden days from the styles and the stigmas of this. From the styles and the stigmas of this crop, people used to extract to dyes. And one important, quality of this crop is generally the leaves, they have spines all over. They have, what we call prickles. They have prickles all over the body of its leaf. Very short prickles are there. So that's why it is grown as a hedge crop. It's grown as a hedge crop in maybe your linseed, or in what we call in coriander, and also even in sorghum, even in what we call in chickpea. In all these crops, generally, this is grown as safflower is grown as a hedge crop. Because of the prickles all over the body of the leaf, generally, it gives a protection for the crop. So generally cattle and other, they feel difficulty. They don't like to cross. Even if they want to eat also, they feel feel of injury. So that's why this is mostly grown as a hedge crop. So now, of course, in good olden days, generally people used to go for that. But now we have many synthetic colors, so no more cultivation for its dyes. So mostly this is being cultivated only for its oil. So now, generally, I told you it needs a cool weather, a bit cool weather. So that's why it is mostly grown as a a rabi crop. Generally, the sowing is taken up in the month of, in the last week of September or in the first to second weeks of October as a sowing period. So now it comes for harvest. It comes for harvest. It may take 115 to 120 days, that is 3.5 to 4 months for it to come to harvest. So along with India, even there are many other countries like USA, Mexico, and Australia, Spain, where this is cultivated on a large scale. Of course, intercropping, this is also, I told you, as an intercrop, it is grown along with coriander, wheat, sorghum, and Bengal gram, etc. And of course, generally, manures, generally in some areas, if you are raising one crop, if it is a rabi crop, some people grow in a fallow land, fallow area, and also as a what we call as an intercropping, also as a solo crop. Now this weed it suffers from, it is susceptible for weed competition, so that's why the farmer has to be careful to keep his safflower field free of weeds during first 40 days or so. So from first 30 to 45 days, this is the crucial period where the plant suffers from the weed menace. So now harvesting, you have to remember one, I already told you, because it has prickles. So generally farmer takes extra precaution. So now, the green leaves, when crop comes for harvest, green leaves turn yellow. Green leaves turn yellow. And even I told you the inflorescence, the flowers, the stigmas and the styles, they wither away. So that is the right time to go for harvest. Generally, harvesting is done by using sickles. Generally, they do this in the mornings. So that the prickles, are not too sharp to cause injury to the crop cutter. So generally, during the early mornings, generally the harvesting is done. Then they are bundled, and then they are shifted to the threshing area, where by using sticks or by employing what we call cattle, it is trampled, and generally one gets seed from the capsules. Now generally then they are clean, and then they are shifted to, of course, 2 or 3 days under hot sun. Then they are put into sacks and either shifted to godowns or to the market. Now, coming to the pests, generally it suffers from what we call thrips. Leaf thrips are there, and generally nymphs, and adults feed on the leaves and cause a lot of damage. Generally, the curling of the leaves takes place. With the sucking of sap, the leaf loses its shape and curls. Now, it has also another important disease or pest is semilooper caterpillar is there, and this also causes a lot of damage to the heads of the crop. Now rust is there, of course. Puccinia carthami is there. It causes what we call a rust. Symptoms are mostly found on leaves. And Cercospora leaf spot is there. Cercospora carthami is there. It causes leaf spots. And Alternaria causes what we call leaf spots. So these are some of the pests and diseases that are commonly encountered on safflower. Now, finally, we move to the sunflower. Sunflower, of course, now our markets are flooded with the sunflower oil only. In almost all the shops, you find only sunflower. because people go for this, because of its, less price. Now, generally, poor people prefer this. Of course, other, palm oil is there. And apart from that, the sunflower oils, various marketed under various, trade names, they're available. And nowadays, the prices have shooted like anything in the last 25 days or so, with what we call the war situation existing between Russia and Ukraine, because both of them, we get our 70% of imports from these two countries, from Russia and Ukraine. So apart from this, this is also grown on large acreage in Romania, Italy, and other areas, Poland, that is European countries, where this is grown on large tracts of the soil. So now, because of this war situation, the prices have gone up. Earlier we used to get 135, 130, 135 per 1 liter pouch, but now it is priced more than 200. And these shopkeepers, they blame they put the blame on the war, but of course many people under the name of this war, resorting to black marketing. And now it is a high time for the government to intervene and check the prices of the oil in the market. Now, the sunflower, it is Helianthus annuus, scientific name. It also falls under what we call Asteraceae, the composite. Now, coming to this, this has been introduced into India as an oil crop very recently. That is only, it is only 50 years old. So in 1970s, it has been introduced. More particularly in 1969 onwards, this has been introduced into India as a major oil crop, but because of its early maturity, its ability to withstand drought-like conditions, early maturing, and ability to grow in all types of soils, in all types of seasons. These are the plus points why now farmers are going for the sunflower cultivation. And even the soils which are unfit for other crops, like your castor, very poor soils. Even in very poor soils also, you can grow sunflower. And in all seasons, your kharif, rabi, and even summer crop. Now it comes for harvest, hardly 70 to 80 days. And very easy. And it doesn't need any irrigation. But of course, if you raise a crop in summer, then you need to give 1 or 2 irrigations. So now this sunflower, or Suryamukhi, otherwise called Suryakantam, Suryamukhi. Now this sunflower, now it has become very, very popular. Now it has become a popular oil seed recently. Now it is grown on large tracts in states like your Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, or some of the areas where it is grown on a large scale. Even in Gujarat, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, there also it has become a popular oil seed. Of course, North India generally, I told you, generally they go for mustard. But here the yields are more, and its fertilizer requirements are very less. And even poor soils are also suitable for raising this sunflower. So that's why it has become a popular oil seed. Now, generally it also, though it is not as good as your safflower, it is also good cooking oil because of its low content of cholesterol. Now it's very good for the heart patients. So it has because of its superior qualities, unsaturated because of the presence of unsaturated fatty acids and low cholesterol content, even people prefer. People who cannot go for safflower, of course, can go for the sunflower. So now, as I already told you, generally it is suitable to be raised in all types of soils. I told you, because all seasons, all soils, early maturity, and drought resistant. These are the good qualities. And of course, there are certain negative features also. The only negative feature is, of course, poor seed filling. Poor seed filling is the one negative quality. Of course, there is the other negative quality is bird menace, because the flowers, very big flowers, very showy flowers, they attract the attention of birds. Birds come up and they feed on the seeds. They feed on the seeds, not only mature but immature, and even there is every possibility, because this stalk is very brittle. The stem is very brittle. It is prone for breakage. If a bird comes and sits on the flower, there is every possibility for it to break. There is every possibility for it to get broken. Now, generally, each plant bears either one head, or in some cases, there is a branching, of course. On the top, you will see 3 or 4 heads will be there. And now, you have to remember one important thing as far as this is concerned, hand pollination. Now, as try to recollect the inflorescence of head inflorescence. Now, head inflorescence, it has 2 types of florets. Your ray florets, disc florets, ray florets at the periphery, and the disc florets in the center. Ray florets are female flowers, and the disc florets are bisexual. Now, because this is a cross-pollinated crop, Now, because of fast disappearance of your trees, no flowers, no birds, no insects, no honeybees, no butterflies. Now, generally, bees and butterflies, they are the principal pollinators. So, because of no green cover, no flowers, because of the absence of that, generally, so your flowers, this is only 3-4 months. If there are plants, everywhere, flowering will be there, and the bees will be there. And when crop is there, they generally, all the bees and butterflies, they visit your crop. They get attracted by your heads. No, they pollinate. They do what we call cross-pollination. So when cross-pollination is there, the seed setting will be there. If there are no pollinators, no pollination, no fertilization, no seed formation. So a lot of damage will be there. Yield gets drastically reduced. So that's why what you have to do, what the farmer has to do, he has to go for what we call hand pollination. So what is this hand pollination? So hand pollination is a technique, generally when he sees, blooming of all the entire crop, and crops are in a full flowering stage, then during the morning periods, so around 7 to 10 or so, at that time, he has to enter into his field, and generally he has to, rub over the head very gently, very smoothly. Then if he looks at his palm, he can see the yellow dust. That yellow dust is nothing but pollen. Now then he has to rub the same over another head. So by doing this, what he is doing is transferring the pollen from the previous head to the next one. So a kind of cross-pollination. Now, by doing this, it has been calculated, it has been estimated that the yield will be around, by doing hand pollination, the yield has been 25 to 30% extra. So this, one does not need any, this is a normal procedure. No technicality is involved. Anybody can do. Anybody with a little patience can go and do what we call hand pollination. So this is how he can increase yield. The filled seeds will be more. If no half filled or no filled seeds will be choppy. Seeds will be there, and fully filled seeds will be very, very minimum. So this is how the sunflower is taken up, and farmers are able to get good yields. Now coming to the harvest, generally maturity. Now generally, when plant comes for harvest, generally the stem will be generally initially green. Of course, it turns yellow, and even the peripheral florets dry, or they get withered, they get dried up. And if you look back of the head, you will see these green leaves turning, these bracts turning yellow. The entire inflorescence turns yellowish, and all the florets are get dried up. Now then, that is the time to go for harvest. Generally, harvest is done by plucking the inflorescence, or in some cases it can be cut and shifted to the threshing area. There, generally by after keeping under sun for a week or so, generally by using sticks, etc., the seed is removed from the head, and generally by using when wind is blowing, generally by winnowing, he prepares or he separates the choppy part from the filled ones, and generally by keeping this seed under sunshine for 2 or 3 days, then he moves that into a godown. So this is how the cultivation of various oil crops is taken up. Now with this, we have completed the oil seeds. Of course, we have two more classes left. On the coming Saturday and Sunday, we will discuss about the fruits and orchards. We'll discuss about these citrus fruits on Saturday, and on the last day, that is Sunday, next Sunday, we'll discuss about coconut, mango, etc. Even if possible, we will revise what we do, cashew nut, etc. And for the last class, you can come with questions. You can ask me. Even an examination point of view also, or you can raise questions on all the topics so far covered. And if you have any doubt on today's or yesterday's topic, you can raise them. And if you don't have any, we don't have any query, then I would like to close my lecture, and let us meet next week, that is on Saturday. No query? Shall I call it a day? Okay.